Happy Wednesday, team. We've got a fun couple of matchups this week. We also have our finals fantasy week 2. So we'll go through my thoughts on the 2 games coming up, and then I'll introduce you to the form for week 2, and the link is already in the description there for that form for this week to fill that one out. So we'll go through that in a little bit, and some of my potential good picks will come out as well tomorrow. We'll go through that one. But let's quickly go through our 2 games. So my Cows play, which is super exciting, against the Sharkies. It is at Allianz Stadium, and there's been a lot of conjecture, a lot of talk about this fixture. The Sharks haven't played there in a couple of years, and obviously since the stadium has been redone, they actually haven't played there, which is pretty crazy. And the Cowboys have actually won, I think, 4 on the trot in Sydney, so that gives them a little bit of a better footing heading into this finals game against the Sharkies. And they also beat them a couple of years ago when the Cowboys made a prelim as well. And the Sharkies, it's a massive game for them to see if they can knock off this hoodoo that they've had the last 3 years here, and going out in back-to-back straight sets there. So there's a lot of storylines coming into this one, and which Cowboys team will turn up. And I think that the Sharks will be fairly consistent, but can they win it when it counts like the Cowboys did last week? The Knights weren't able to do it with that drop ball, unfortunately, by Gags, but can the Sharks do it? And on the Sharky side, obviously being in Sydney does help, but they're not at home, and that's the big one there. A little bit of annoyance for obviously a fan's perspective that, maybe members and these types of guys are definitely going to be able to get seats. But the other thing there is, if you're a fan and you want to watch them play, you might not be able to get into Shark Park. That's the other problem there. But in terms of the game at hand, they do have a really well-rounded squad. The big issue here is, can they put it together on the day, and can they win the big moments? I think that they have a slightly better squad than what the Cows do. I think the Cows have a few more game breakers in Scott Drinkwater and guys like Tom Dearden that can come out and do great things there. You've got middle forwards like Taumalola that on his day will be the best forward on this park. McInnes and Cotter really cancel each other out. And I think the work from the Cowboys bench guys have been doing a great job. And Hazleton's on the bench here. Can he overpower some of the middles from the Cows when he comes on? And I think he's their big secret weapon. Not secret, he definitely can't be a secret weapon the size of him, but big weapon on the bench. And then can Britton Nickera run his great lines, and can Hines play a little bit better than he did last week? So I think that if Hines and Trindle can work together, I think they'll have a little bit too much firepower through some of their backs that they have, just some big strong guys. The Cowboys probably a little bit more talented, I'll say, in terms of try scoring, finishing. You got Val Holmes, one of the most talented guys in the game. Drinkwater at the back there. I think that's a big win for the Cowboys side, where the rest of it can be fairly similar, but the Sharks have had a better season, winning more games overall. So Cowboys, I think, on their side of the ball, they have the upside. They have the ability to overpower the Sharks in point scoring, but we have seen at times that the Sharkies can have a real steely defense. And if that's the case, the Cowboys are going to have to show plenty of firepower on that side, but they just have to play good defense. As I said, I think Sharkies are going to be more consistent overall. Can the Cowboys win this, go out and win this with their attack and really strong defense, or are they going to lose it on the defensive side and not play well enough on that part? We saw them even in times where they were getting, Taumalola got bowled over. Cotter got bowled over a few times by like Greg Marzou, and they had enough guys there to cover that, and they were really strong in their defense. So if that can happen, I think the Cowboys will win this game if they play really good D. If they are a bit lax in their defense, I think that they're going to lose this match. So there's no point in me tipping this one. I'm just really going to be watching and hoping that the Cowboys can get the victory here in round 2 of the finals. Going to be a fun game, 7:50 p.m. on Friday night at Allianz. I won't be at the game, but I'll be watching very, very intently. And it's interesting, with my NBA team, the Golden State Warriors, I'm all in, yelling at the screen, watching like that. And as soon as it comes finals time for the Cows, I'm very much in that boat as well, yelling and getting into it as well. When Kyle Feld got that intercept, for example. And then for the Roosters up against the Eagles, it's going to be a really, really fun clash. And on paper, you would look at it and go, well, the Roosters should be too good for the Eagles, especially when the Eagles were behind in that game against the Dogs and had to pull a rabbit out of the hat. If the Eagles come to play and for close to 80 minutes, DCE and Turbo can dominate this game and play really well from the jump, I think that they have a good chance of winning. But if they are a little bit slow out of the blocks, they're not really in the game like they were at the beginning of last match against the Dogs, and only really came into it in sort of the 55th to 60th minute. I think they have a lot of trouble getting through the firepower of a Roosters team who won't start that bad again. You won't see Tupou drop 2 bombs. I don't think Manu played that well. Obviously, Sanders Smith had one of his worst games. Luke Keary didn't bring the fire either. So if all those guys can play a little bit better, they've got Hargreaves returning, which is absolutely massive. I do think that they'll be too strong if they can keep their discipline in check. And they have a chance of Radley coming back as well. Satilli's named on the edge there, but Victor Radley's a very high chance of returning, obviously, in a do-or-die fixture here. So if those 2 boys return in the forwards, and the other guys who are usually pretty consistent can bring that form back, I think that the Roosters will be too good. They just have a little bit too much firepower, even without Sam Walker. I think if Keary and Sanders Smith can get around the park and be solid, they have enough game breakers in the forwards, obviously with Crichton as well on that edge, and in some of their outside backs in Tedesco, in Tupou, Suoli'i, Manu, and Dom Young. It's an incredible back 5. So I think that's where Roosters win this, and I think that's the improvement that comes. So we'll be tipping them to win this one. And as I said, for the Eagles, the 2 big dogs have to step up for them to win. I think they need to give Kohler a little bit more early ball, see what he can do on that side against Manu and try and beat him for pace, like we saw in that lovely try on the weekend there. And then Brooks needs to step up and have a really good game as well. Like, he had moments last week where he was, obviously that pass to DC for that try off the scrum was great, but we need to see a couple more of those moments for them to get over the line. And you look at their forward pack and it just doesn't have the firepower or the upside outside of Olakuatu, which he really showed last week that the Roosters have outside of Olakuatu, as I said. And if he can play really, really well, it is up against Crichton, so it's going to, just like it was against Kickout last week, an incredible spectacle. It will be the same against Crichton this week. I look forward to seeing that battle. But as I said, Roosters should get the job done over Eagles due to the reasons that I said there. So it's going to be a really fun clash. Both of them will be. Hopefully they are close games and fun games to watch. And that'll be an awesome weekend, even though there is 2 games of footy. But Finals Fantasy, hopefully you played in week 1. If you didn't, you can give it a crack in week 2 anyway, but it's going to be very, very difficult to get anywhere along. But it's also just fun to see how well you can pick if you want to just join in now. So the link is in the description. Scoring is the same. We are in week 2. There's obviously a couple less teams, so it's going to be a couple less options to pick here in this one. Just got a cramp in my hamstring as we're talking. But full name, address, make sure it is the exact same as last week. Otherwise, it won't count in your scoring this week as I get things over in the Excel sheet. But picking one hooker there, you've got Robson, Connor Watson, and Blake Brayley. I think that'll be a really fun matchup. Watson got plenty of tackles last week. Is that going to be the case? Is he going to play 80 minutes? All those questions. Pick one gun mid. We've got McInnes, we've got Cotter, and we've got Collins. All scored pretty good last week. Yeah, Cotter was massive with the tackles, same with McInnes. Will that be the same here, or will that drop? We've got Collins in there, as I said there, and then you got pick one gun edge. So you got Nikora, Crichton, you got Olakuatu. That should be a really fun matchup. Will Nikora score? Will Crichton bounce back? In that one mid-price edge, just because there's a few more edges available, I think, that are good scorers. You got Wilton, you got Jeremiah Nanai, and you got Lawton. So do you go with the consistency of Wilton, or do you go for some of the upside potentially with Nanai? And then Lawton should be pretty solid there. Might be able to get closer to 80 minutes. We'll see how that one plays out. But picking one gun half, you got Hines, Dearden, and DCE. That's going to be really fun. Do you go for Hines upside as a bounce back? Dearden went 60 odd, and then so did DCE. One gun center, you got Holmes, Iro, Manu, and Garrick. All scored fairly similar last week. The one gun wing fullback in Drinkwater, Turbo, or Tedesco. That'll be cool to pick with all of those guys having potential to go big. And then one emergency player. This week it is Kohler, it is Kyle Felt, and it is Sandon Smith. Link is in the description, guys. Good luck with your picks, and I can't wait to show you the results following week 2. Have a cracking couple of days there. I will get out some of my analysis for these picks this week, tomorrow in just a short, sharp, bite-sized video, and have a good day.